Excited about Airsoft? Hit the like button and comment to join other Airsofters in the conversation. What's up, Airsofters? You know, there's one major component of Airsoft that sets it apart from all of the other replica blaster hobbies, and that thing is realism. Trademarks, mock bolts, moving charging handles, paint jobs, no matter what it is or how small the detail, I think we can all agree that the closer it is to reality, the better when it comes to Airsoft. And when it comes to realistic details, there's one company who gets it very, very right. And that's E&L. And it's time you took notice, especially because these come in at such a good price point. These are the E&L AK series of AEGs, and they're quite possibly the most realistic AK replica you've ever seen. From the furniture, to the finish, to the weight and feel, it's all just right. But how's the performance? Well, we'll get to that in a moment when we take these out to the range, just as soon as we're done admiring every single aesthetic, starting with the unboxing. The packaging of an E&L AK is a little bit different from kind of the standard run-of-the-mill packaging that we have on most other Airsoft products. Of course, it starts with a cardboard box, clearly labeled with the product. Inside, however, we get a look at how their packaging is a little bit different. Lifting the cover, we see both the open cell foam as well as a really cool banner in the center and a plastic piece that protects the charging handle of the AK, which is unique in terms of packaging for AKs. Once we remove that foam, we get a look at how the AK ships. The AEG itself is held between closed cell and open cell foam. It comes with a metal mid-cap magazine. Also included is a small bottle for holding extra BBs, shaped like an oil bottle. A really cool collapsible cleaning kit. A certificate of quality, verifying the FPS as it left the manufacturer, and that completes the inside of the packaging. Now that is one of the better unboxing presentations we've seen this side of Tokyo Marui, and it's just another detail that E&L gets right. It's always nice when companies go that little bit extra for the player. One thing you may notice about these AKs as we go through the externals is that they don't have any Picatinny rail anywhere on them, and that's in line with the classic origins of these rifles. All except the AKM have the traditional AK side rail for a mount that would allow you to mount an optic. Now, no rails is nothing new for existing AK enthusiasts, and there are a lot of workarounds for optics like pick rail handguards or rear sight replacements that should fit right on these. For help choosing an option for your build or for compatibility assistance, just reach out to us at tech@Evike.com. The receiver of these AKs is made of stamped steel and features very realistic rivets. No molded in details here. These realistic rivets give these AKs that extra level of detail that really sets them apart. The controls on the AK platform are famously simple, though if you're new to this style of rifle, it may take a little getting used to. The fire selector is located on the right-hand side and can be operated by both the right or left hand. The selector will mar the receiver as it slides between modes. This is due to an appropriately tight fitment between the selector and the receiver body. This is normal. It's a feature. And to me, it's part of the AK's rugged charm. Just forward of the selector is the charging handle and sliding dummy bolt. This serves to provide a touch of realism as well as concealing the sliding hop-up adjustment arm. Below these two features is the AK paddle-style ambidextrous magazine release. See what I mean? Simples. All of the markings on the receiver and elsewhere are in Cyrillic, as they should be, and there's even a star near the serial number, right where the arsenal marking would be. On top of the receiver is a stamped steel dust cover, under which is the battery storage space, which, let's be honest, you may have forgotten by now because of how realistic this looks. After all, this is an AEG. For batteries, we recommend an AK stick type battery, like this very svelte 1200 milliamp 11.1 volt stick type LiPo here. Now this battery just barely fits under the front sight block. And it's worth noting that the slightly larger diameter of lithium ion batteries will not fit under the sight block. So it'll either be a thinner LiPo like one of these or an NIMH battery for these. All of these rifles have the same receiver design elements, functionality, and features, including the once again simple yet effective sliding adjustable leaf sight. No new age pick rail here. Where they differ is in the furniture and barrel length. Let's go over those differences. The AKM is what most people think of anytime someone says AK-47. It's got the classic 7.62 style steel magazine and the iconic slanted muzzle brake, as well as the correct gas block, which is a feature, let's be honest, many airsoft AKs get wrong. It's also got real wood furniture on the handguard and the stock. And I gotta say, the wood on these AEGs is beautiful. It's a nice satin finish and it feels really, really smooth. It feels amazing to touch and it's really pretty to look at. I think it's stained really well. At the end of the stock, there's a steel butt plate, which is used to protect the end grain of the wood stock to keep it from splintering when in use. And there is a functioning trap door on the back, which, if you're more familiar with AEGs and airsoft, is where some AKs choose to put a battery compartment. However, much like real AKs, E&L have gone the extra mile for realism to give you an included cleaning kit, and that cleaning kit fits really conveniently in the spring-loaded section underneath that trapdoor. Simply slide this into the back if you want that ultimate level of realism, and then when you want to use it, simply depress it, it pops out for use. Really, really cool feature that you really don't see anywhere else. One side note about the cleaning kit, it's very realistic, but due to the brush and the material that it's made of, maybe just use your plastic jamming rod and your traditional, paper towel and silicone spray to clean your inner barrel so you don't risk scratching the inner barrel with the cleaning rod. Cool looking, but not that useful for an AEG. The AK-74 also has wood furniture, just like the AKM. Where it differs is in the barrel length, mostly just the flash hider being longer. Again, notice the gas block. It has the correct, more vertical shape as opposed to the AKM and AK-47's forward swept one. The mag is also different, being the more vertical or less curved 5.45 style. Then there's the two 100 series rifles, the 104 and the 105. Now in the real world, the difference boils down to caliber of projectile, but in airsoft, the only real difference between these two is the magazine that it ships with. There's no other differences we can detect between these two airsoft models. On both models, the shorter barrel helps with maneuverability in close engagements and shifts the front sight post into being integrated into the gas block. The 104 and 105 both have polymer handguards and polymer stocks that fold. This is a really cool feature that makes these a really good option for vehicle use and storage and transport. And I should mention that these stocks have a really solid lockup with no wobble whatsoever. They're very nicely done. When it comes to performance, all of these AKs are on par with one another, likely due to them all sharing the same set of internals and having similar enough barrel lengths. Chrono results with our standard testing media of 0.20 gram BBs showed that these AKs come in at just under 400 FPS, which is perfect for outdoor fields where that higher limit is allowed. If you want to take your new E&L indoors, you're probably going to need to make some minor modifications, like swapping the spring for a lower powered one. The 50-foot distance in our accuracy test proved an easy task for the E&L AKs, placing shots tightly on our 6-inch plate as well as our Evike professional silhouette targets. Out at the 100-foot line, the 6-inch plate proved to be a bit more elusive, though placing solid hits in the center of our silhouette target was easily achieved. We chalked this up to a bit of shifting wind and a slight over-adjustment of our hop-up unit. Thanks to the longer AK length inner barrel, these distances are a breeze for these E&L AKs, and even tighter groupings can be achieved with an upgraded bucking and polished inner barrel, also available on our website. Trigger response is familiar feeling for a standard AEG, since these lack any sort of microswitch or MOSFET that would enhance that trigger feel. Luckily, as you'll see in the disassembly portion, you can readily change that. Underneath the dust cover is your battery compartment, where you'll find a small Tamiya plug and an automotive fuse, which is nicely very easy to access. The barrel and bucking are both standard AEG spec, and the hop-up chamber is polymer, standard V3 variety. Like just about every other AK, this uses a version 3 gearbox, which is overall very reliable and robust. The short type motor is held in a cage which is directly attached to the gearbox, and is part of what makes these systems so reliable. In this case, the motor is an E&L standard ELM 120 ferrite magnet motor. This gearbox has something that not all V3 gearboxes have, and that's a quick change spring. You still need to remove the gearbox from the receiver, but having a quick change spring means you don't have to split the gearbox shell just to swap springs and change FPS. Inside the gearbox is a fairly standard affair of 18:1 ratio gears that ride on 9mm bushings. There is a delayer cam on the sector gear, which is a nice touch for reliable feeding. The piston is polymer with a single metal tooth, but the second tooth has been removed to help avoid premature engagement. The piston head is polymer, ported, and there's no thrust bearing. The cylinder is ported, the cylinder head is polymer with a single O-ring, and the nozzle is polymer and has an O-ring, which is why compression on these parts is very nice for a stock AK. The trigger assembly and wiring harness are a standard Marui style, but this does mean that the majority of aftermarket MOSFETs should be compatible. If you're in the market for an Airsoft AK, then you already know you're signing up for one of the coolest looking, most classically designed and often underappreciated platforms in the game. And when it comes to the most highly detailed, authentically replicated options for AKs on the Airsoft market, well, few can hold a candle to the exquisite details found on the E&L AK series of Airsoft AEGs. You can find all of the available styles right here at Evike.com. Thanks for watching. Don't miss out on the action. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, check out our TikTok, and join us on Facebook for everything Airsoft.